I'm your host, Dallin Wortham of the Charter School Connection podcast, and I'm excited for another fantastic guest. We are going to welcome, without further ado, Brittany Keil from SchoolCEO. She's the Senior Manager of Media and Research. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Fantastic. So the first question that we always ask is just, Brittany, how did you get involved in the charter school space? Could you just tell us about your journey? Because most people, when they're 4 or 5 years old, don't say, oh, I want to be involved in charter schools. So
Yeah, absolutely.
tell us a little bit about how you got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So like a lot of, teenagers growing up, I really knew that I wanted to have an impact. I thought the impact that I wanted to make in the world was to be an ambassador. So I worked all through high school, all through college with this idea of working in international relations. I was lucky enough to secure a Fulbright grant to Malaysia. A big part of that was teaching, but I was just excited to be in this space. And about 3 months into work, being a Fulbrighter in Malaysia, I realized that I love teaching and that I absolutely did not want to be an ambassador. So change of plans for the better, I think. When I came back to the US, I started looking at ways to get in the classroom. I was based in Washington, D.C., and I heard about Teach for America. So I applied to Teach for America, was lucky enough to get accepted to the DMV region, and then was placed in my very first classroom, which was at Friendship Collegiate Public Charter Schools in Washington, D.C. My experience with charter schools, extends way back to my very first professional experiences. That was my first classroom, and then I ended up working in special education in different charter networks for about a decade.
Very cool. I have so many questions. I'm just going to pick one, and it's going to be a little random.
Okay.
Could you tell us about Malaysia?
Sure.
What was that like? Just a brief little snippet.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So Malaysia is an absolutely beautiful, absolutely incredible country, just south of Thailand. And I had studied abroad in Thailand in college. And so I thought that by proximity, Malaysia would be incredibly similar. That was very silly of me. Malaysia was incredible, but definitely its very own thing. I lived in a city called Batu Pahat, which actually has over 300,000 people in it. It's a pretty large city, but the nature of my community is it felt very much like a village. So I taught high school. We began every day with a huge all-school assembly, and I had a great time. I'm actually, and this is a little bit crazy, I am going back for the first time in 3 weeks.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
And I am bringing my 1-year-old and my 6-year-old because my students have their own children now. And when they found out I wanted to come back, they were like, "You can't come without also bringing your children." And I was like, "Yeah, you're so true. You've got to get to know my kids." So it's going to be a big family trip.
That is so cool. Wow, what an experience. And I'm sure that studying abroad, teaching abroad, living abroad has been eye-opening and has probably helped your professional career in education and teaching and being able to carry that with you. Well, thank you so much. Sorry for backtracking, but so you went to Teach for America, got in the classroom, boots on the ground, and that was your first maybe taste of the charter school space. And tell us, how did you get to where you are today with SchoolCEO?
Sure. So my career has meandered in between research, education, and marketing. So before, in my gap between Fulbright and Teach for America, I actually worked in nonprofit marketing for 3 years. And so I had that experience. But I really think that where I got to now started with an idea that I faced in my classroom at Friendship. So like a lot of schools, I had a homeroom. I had 12 girls in my homeroom, and we had a goal of getting a certain amount in scholarship money. So my students that year were seniors in my homeroom, and as a way to motivate them, I created this little poster template. And this was like pre-Canva, so this was like Google Slides was as good as it got. That was like the new technology then. So that every time they received a scholarship or a possible scholarship, because not all of them applied to all of the schools, I would print out the dollar amount and put it on this bright Astro Bright paper and hang it on my wall. covering up everything else. And so I was doing this, and I was cleaning my classroom one Saturday, and I invited my mentor, who is a CEO in the market research space, to come and help me. And she was just helping me clean. And she looked around and she's like, "What are all of these posters?" And I was like, "Oh, Diane, this is our scholarship money. Like, we have almost reached, like, I forget what our goal was, like, 225,000 or something as a class." And she was absolutely blown away. And she said, "If you told the media about this, like, this would be such a great feel-good story." And as a teacher, like, I had never considered that something that I did in the classroom was something that I could use to help spread the good work that schools are doing every day, including the incredible students that I had in my classroom. So, I ended up teaching for about 10 years. I loved every minute of it. I love it so much. I still volunteer as a reading interventionist in my daughter's school, just a couple hours a week, like nothing big, but I love the classroom space. I think it's incredible. But when I had my own children and I was in the mid-pandemic, I started looking for something where I could do a little bit more research. So I got my master's from Johns Hopkins. As a part of that, I did a research study, loved it, found the data fascinating, found every aspect of it fascinating. And I saw an ad for what they called a research journalist and researcher in my hometown of Little Rock, Arkansas, which is where I was living at the time. I was like, wow, you don't see that every day. I interviewed for it, and I've been there ever since. So going on 6 years now. And yeah, I'm happy to give you a little bit of a deep dive into SchoolCEO if you'd like.
Oh, please.
So SchoolCEO Magazine is a quarterly magazine for school leaders and superintendents. The charter folks who are here will hear school CEO and know exactly what we mean. We're talking about the person who is making the strategic decisions about schools, including leadership and communication. We like to say we're the only school marketing magazine that's K-12 and national, and we put so much heart and thought into everything that we do. Our magazine is beautiful. It's very, it's very well designed, I have to say. I have a designer named Alex. He's incredible. We have an independent team of researchers and writers, and we are dedicated to showcasing all of the incredible stories that happen in classrooms all across the country. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, well, I do this really cool marketing thing, please reach out to me. I like to joke that every single story in SchoolCEO starts with a Zoom call with a school leader or a communicator who's very excited about something and knows that it could do good work for other leaders across the country.
Fantastic. Well, you're totally right in regards to it being beautiful. And there's so many different resources on top of the magazine. There's videos, there's a podcast, there's discussion guidelines, and then we're going to dive into the conference and what makes that special. But it's totally something that if you are listening to this podcast and not following their content, you need to go check out SchoolCEO because it's great work. So thank you for sharing those resources. Anything else that you'd like to touch on with SchoolCEO before we dive into the conference itself?
Yes. So first, it is free to subscribe. So schoolceo.com, subscribe. You will get a glossy, beautiful magazine and, delivered to hopefully your desk, if, maybe at your secretary's desk if they like it a lot. But I do want to say we are published by Apptegy. So Apptegy is a school communications platform company. And a big part of Apptegy's philosophy is really digging into the best practices that work for schools. And part of those best practices is having a thought leadership arm like SchoolCEO. The conference is, which we're about to talk about, is very much in Apptegy SchoolCEO joint project, and I'm really excited to share, what makes our conference different, and also how much I'd love to see y'all there.
Yeah, because there's a lot of resources, almost too many, but the budget is small for charter schools to say, okay, which conference are we going to go to? Which one is going to move the needle the most for our faculty and for our students? And so when a school CEO is maybe trying to decide between your conference and other also incredible, great conferences that are available to them, what makes your conference unique and special?
Absolutely. So to give you some like key basics, School CEO this year is in Dallas, Texas, and our theme is all in AI brand and communication. It's September 28th through 29th. So we've got a couple of months away, and then it's hosted at the Fairmont in Dallas, which is, you know, Fairmonts are lovely always, and the Dallas one is especially good. I think what makes our conference different, and I say this as somebody who's been to a lot of conferences as a teacher, as a, you know, as a member from a school, and then as a working for Apptegy and SchoolCEO, is our conference is the manifestation of a red carpet rollout. So we know that school leaders don't always have the opportunity to get to be, you know, to be like, I'm sorry. I think the way that I think about it the most is, you know, that feeling when you're in a room and you realize that everybody in the room just gets it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going for. We're bringing the very best school leaders from across the country who are not only interested in school communications, but they understand the absolute critical nature of school marketing. They understand the importance of building trust in their communities. They understand the importance of meeting families where they're at, and thus meeting students where they're at. And then all of the private sector resources that we bring. So a lot of our keynote speakers, all but one actually, are from the private sector. And a lot of our best practices are private sector based or research based as well. And so we're trying to bring these very cream of the crop people and thoughts and discussions into one space so that you can have an incredibly impactful, you know, 36 hours. It's about a day and a half where you leave with tangible things to take away, and also just really the excitement and connection to know that not only are you not the only one dealing with this, or, you know, struggling with these concepts and ideas and taking things to execution, but you now have people that you can reach out to as you move, you know, the needle forward.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. And at Charter Connect, we are heavily using AI, and we are always looking for resources to learn how to use it better. And I've been to conferences that the whole conference was AI focused, and I was really excited. I paid for the ticket, and then I showed up, and it's, you know, just kind of like a professor that's kind of standing up at the front and goes, "Okay, I'm gonna show you how ChatGPT works, or look at these cool images I can make in Canva with AI." I'm like, "Oh no, I just spent $500 for like AI like 2 years ago." And you can totally tell that it's someone that just kind of started dabbling with it maybe a few weeks ago in preparation for the conference. And I feel like sometimes AI can just be a buzzword, and it's actually, there's no traction to the content. But something that you just said that got me really stoked about School CEOs conference is, it's not just educators kind of showing some interesting things that they've figured out. It's people from the private sector. It's people bringing practical things that you can take with you and apply, you know, right away. It's not just like a cool little, look what I can do with AI. So very, very cool. Anything else that you'd like to touch on before I finish with a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure. So I want to touch a little bit about that, because I could not agree more that that resonates a lot with me. My constant complaint has been, why is every single AI resource either for a baby or an engineer? Like, where is something in between? Like, okay, you know, like like I don't have a ton of programming languages myself, but I am interested in AI. Like, how do I make this work? And our conference is definitely speaking to that audience. So one of our keynotes is Rebecca Boltzma. If you haven't heard of her, she is one of the key AI ethicists in the K-12 communication space. And what I mean by that is, Rebecca actually started her career as a school communicator in a really small district in Canada. She got really excited about AI when she realized that potential for personalization. She was in a district that had, and they call them school divisions in Canada, I'm sure you know, that had a large range of experiences, from students in tribal nations to larger cities. And Rebecca got really into it and is now pursuing a doctorate in AI ethics. So she's one of our keynote speakers, and her whole idea is that AI can absolutely change K-12 education and administration, And we are the right people to lead the conversation about how it can shift the industry as a whole. She is so exciting. She's incredible. She actually presented at MAYCON this year. I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's like marketing in AI con. And so it speaks so much to me that, even though she's from the education space, she's also leading in the private sector. So we're so excited to have her in Dallas with us. It'll be her first time speaking in Texas as a whole.
Wow. I want to be there for when she speaks, because I love what it's been doing for my organization. But I also think, what are the ethical consequences of the power grid and water resources and, jobs? And I mean, that's quite the rabbit hole. So I'd love to hear from her.
Absolutely.
My final question for you before I open up the floor for you to just share whatever you'd like is, if someone says, this is my conference, I'm going to sign up, and according to you, there's not a lot of seats left, so you do need to get your tickets now. But someone listens to this episode, they want to attend to learn more about AI. How can they best come prepared to the conference? Do you have any ideas as to how they can come ready to make the most of their time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, a couple of key things, which I hope this speaks to some of our red carpet mentality, is that we're actually going to be sharing some personalized, like suggested itineraries to our attendees based on what we think that are the best fits. So it's kind of like conference matchmaking. Like, let's say, we see somebody, we know that they're from a suburban district and a rural, or, state with a large rural presence. How can we match them with other school leaders who are in similar spaces and breakout sessions that we're going to speak to their needs? So that would be number one, is just to, check that document out. Our conference team is incredibly responsive. If you email asking questions, we're going to get back to you. We're going to do our best to, demonstrate that belief in hospitality. I also have a Q&A coming out with one of our keynotes. Her name is Jessica Chen, and she is an Emmy award-winning journalist and presenter, and general executive coach. And she actually helped me come up with a guide to how to get the most before, during, and after the conference. Because my charge coming to her is, a lot of folks, including myself, go to conferences, you get excited about something, and then 3 weeks later, your life is back normal. You don't know, you've lost your handout, you lost the business card of the person you were going to reach out to. So how do you make that not happen? And she had a ton of resources and ideas. And so I'm going to be sharing that as well.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you for doing that. And the conference itinerary is genius, because I attend maybe 10 conferences a year, and I just look at the one, I go, which one should I go to? There's like 5 at the same time. This one seems interesting. And then you kind of walk in, you're like, oh, this actually isn't for me, but I feel bad getting up in the middle of there. And so
for sure.
I think that's fantastic. Well, thank you. Anything else that you would like to share? Maybe an answer to a question that I didn't ask, or one more plug, or anything you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I would just like to say that our motivating, belief behind SchoolCEO is that we want to serve school districts across the country. We want to serve the school leaders who are making the impact in students' lives. And so our, goals here extend to the conference. I've said it before, but we want this to feel like a red carpet. We are matching you to the best resources in the business. We are matching you to some of the best school leaders who are in the same seats as you, tackling the same challenges as you. And that extends to every single detail, every single bit of planning. Like, we are thinking about hospitality, we are thinking about experience, because we know that even those small details might be something that you can take back to your schools. For example, and we're not doing this anymore, so I can share it. It was a big secret for a long time. At our previous conference, a little over a year ago, we had all of our participants write out their core values, and we had a list that people could choose from, but we also let people, make up their own. And then after the conference, we sent them a t-shirt that had their school logo. And then on the back, it said, lead like with their name, and it listed their core values. And that was such a wow factor for attendees, and a great way for them to be a couple of weeks after the conference and say like, oh, wow, I wondered why I didn't get like the normal conference bag. Like, this is why. This is so much more meaningful. And this, ties me back to what I was thinking during the conference itself.
That is unique, and that is cool. The conference bag full of trinkets might make it home, and then it might be played with by the kids for a couple of days, but it's not really going to make any sort of meaningful impact like what you just mentioned. So that's great.
I will say my daughter now expects some sort of trinket when I get back from a trade show or something. She's like, where's my
squishy ball?
Yeah, where's my squishy ball? Like, she's really attached to this one from Duolingo that I got a couple of conferences ago. It's like on her backpack. And so living in Seattle, people are like, oh, do you work for Duolingo? I'm like, no.
Well, that's awesome. Well, very cool. Is it okay if I tell people where they can go to sign up and about the conference website and the promo code?
Yes, we did get a promo code for you all. It is CC at SchoolCEO, but we say SCEO just for shortness. We're going to share that out in the resources, I understand. But yes, please share the resources. Also, feel free to share my contact information. I'm always happy to chat. And again, I'd love to hear stories about, the best and brightest school leaders and marketers in the business.
Fantastic. Awesome. So Brittany Keil from SchoolCEO. The website is apptegy.com/conference. The promo code, as Brittany already mentioned, is CC at SCEO. Brittany, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.